Okie dokie.
All right.
So we're starting. So, hello everyone. This is a really special, very, very special episode because my brother, my dear brother Hugh, is joining me today. Um, and we have a pretty powerful episode to talk about, a really exciting topic, and it's gonna be all about Hugh today. But I just want to I've been really excited I've actually had it on my list to interview both my brothers at some point, and I've been really excited to share the the wisdom that he has, and also the energy that comes from our conversations is like out of this
Mm,
world. Since
yes.
I've been traveling, when I talk with you on the phone, we are talking for at least an hour, and it's like powerful energy,
Yeah.
like no other. Um, so I'm really excited to share that vibration with everyone else. So thank you for being here. And Hugh, do you want to introduce yourself and
Yeah.
yeah.
Most definitely. Most definitely. So, of course, yeah, Carmen's brother, Hugh here. I'm just super excited to be here and be on the Zoom and to be a part of your journey, Carmen, because you have really been inspiring not just myself, but everyone else around the world with what you're doing and how you're tracing after life and, just really just going after what's important to you. And, that speaks volume with your character. And I think, the fact that, us being related, we have a very similar dynamic, but a very different dynamic as well, being male and female. So I think there's going to be a great perspective that you might each have that's a little bit different, but both are impactful in certain listeners that you have on your podcast too. So I'm just really excited to be here. And, I can give you a little bit of a background about what I do and how what I do with my business and with my personal life. So for anyone that doesn't know me, or is new to listening to Carmen, we were homeschooled growing up as kids. And I think that's one of the biggest catalysts that have impacted my life. And when we were kids, I didn't really think much of it or see what the benefits would do to our lives and how impactful our parents would be on our lives and where we are today and where we're going as well as a huge impact. And so I think, the philosophies around rich dad, poor dad, and budgeting our birthdays and going and having our certain allowance or our paydays once every 15th of the month based on our chores or our job is a little bit of a context around how I approach business and why I feel that I'm in the position where financially I have a good head on my shoulder around my finances. So that's a little bit more around my personal experience around, growing up, being homeschooled, now in the field of real estate and been in the active industry full time for 3 years, part time, and really, the first day one I would say was almost 9 years ago when we got started, Tyler and I, and so that's kind of the background of how we got started, and I'm just really excited to be here and share the energy with all your listeners, Carmen.
Thank you. Thanks for that backstory. Yeah, you inspire me so much every single day with everything that you do in your career and in your everyday life. I always tell when I'm explaining you to somebody, I explain well, first the relationship, the closeness that we have, and then when I'm explaining you as a person, I'm like, if you think that I'm into personal development, like you should meet my brother. He is,
Yeah,
and then I usually end up telling them about your 75 hard. So that's kind of what the one of the themes of our that's kind of the main theme of our topic today, is around I want to interview you on your process through 75 hard. It's a mental toughness challenge, and so you can explain what that is. And also, it's not just about the challenge, but what did that challenge do for you, and um what did you learn about yourself through the last few years that you've been doing it? You can tell us about that. But one first things first, you want to explain what it is
yeah,
that is, and when did you start?
totally, for sure. So 75 hard is exactly what you said. It's a mental toughness challenge. There's a lot of hype around it, around social media, and the impacts that it does changing people's lives. And there's a little bit of a miscommunication when people hear mental toughness challenge versus like a health program or a special diet, or I'm just going to do really well in the gym, right? So the reason that this is a mental toughness challenge, not just an exercise diet, is because again, it's really working on not just your fitness, not just following a diet. So I guess before I kind of dive in, I'll just talk a bit about what the requirements are each day for those 75 days, which you can go and listen to, which is on a podcast by Andy Frisella. I've been following him personally since 2018. And I think by 2019, I had actually done my first completion of 75 hard. So he's got his podcast. You can Google search 75 Hard Podcast, plug in the link there if you want to listen to it and you find that it's going to be beneficial for you. So for the first 75 days, you're required to do a certain amount of tasks per day that you complete each day and move to the next. And so if you miss one of those tasks, you start back at day one, whether you're at day 6, day 20, day 58. I've restarted quite a few times past the 50-day mark. And the thing that has been a big impact on actually restarting from day one is like, there's nobody here that's blowing the whistle when I'm offside. There's nobody here to say, hey, your goal doesn't count because, I ate something wrong on my diet, or I finished my gym workout 38 minutes instead of 45 minutes. And so that's why this is a mental toughness program, is because there's nobody here but yourself to say, hey, I'm doing this the way that I should be doing it versus actually completing it in its entirety. So I think that's really one of the most impactful things for me personally in my experience of doing 75 hard is how well do I honor my own word to myself, right? Because at the end of the day, there's nobody here that, Carmen's not going to say, hey, how's 75 hard doing? And I can just say, yep, I'm doing great, when really yesterday I ate a pizza and I'm still doing the diet, as an example, right? So that's one of the biggest things that I think gets overlooked as well, is like, hey, this is about me, and I'm the one that gets to choose if I'm going to go through this successfully, or if I'm going to go through this just kind of breezing through it and hoping for the best and just kind of half-assing it. So the requirements for the 75 days are 2 workouts for 45 minutes. 1 outdoors is required. They could be both outdoors, but they both cannot be indoors. It has to be one at least outdoors for 45 minutes. Number 2 is drinking a gallon of water, 4 liters of water each day, 10 pages of a business or entrepreneurial book. So basically anything nonfiction that is self-development style, taking a progress photo, and following a diet with no alcohol or cheat meals. So those are the baseline requirements for the first 75 days. And so with those requirements, I personally have the app because down the road when I didn't have the app in my first beginning stages, I forgot my photo twice. And one of them was on day like 30. The other one was on day like 45, where literally I'd done 2 workouts. I drank all my water. I did my reading. I didn't eat any crappy food. I stayed on my diet. I didn't drink any alcohol. And I went to sleep and I didn't take my photo. And the first time that happened, I actually went and continued the day that was supposed to be next, whether it was 54, 55, or whatever. And for 2 more days, I actually continued the challenge, even though I didn't take my photo. Because to me personally, in my mind at the time, was like, shit, who cares about a photo? I'll just take 2 photos today. I know that my body looks good, so like I don't need to take a photo. And it's funny because personally, that was my mindset. My mindset was like, hey, I'm in good shape. I know I look good. Why does this photo need to happen? And then I started like, I had this epiphany where I was like, what are other things in my life that are quote unquote, I know I can complete, but I don't because I feel that I know how to do it. Or I know that taking a photo for me may not be that impactful, but for somebody that's maybe doing this challenge also for the aspect of getting in shape, maybe they're a little bit overweight or they want to get in shape for a marathon. Like when you take that photo every day, you don't have to share it. You don't have to post it on Facebook and, let the whole world see your progress, but it's really just for you. And so after those 3 days, when I noticed that I had an epiphany, I said, what are other things in my life that I'm doing or that I think that I know, like I know I can do this, which is like example, I know I can take a photo. It's the easiest thing in the challenge in my mind. It made at the time, it was actually the hardest thing for me, which was to remember to take a photo. And that was something I learned about myself. And you'll kind of pick up nuggets as you go through this challenge of what, your blind sides are. Because at the end of the day, everyone has blind sides. We're humans, right? Like we make mistakes and that's okay. And the difference is for me, I used to brush off those mistakes that I knew I could do because I knew how to do it.
Hmm.
But just because I know how to do it doesn't mean that I'm actually using my integrity and saying, hey, I should be actually taking this photo and starting over. And so a couple of days later, I restarted. That was a really challenging one for me. There's been a few other things around diet and eating healthy. And a big thing for me, and as you know, Carmen, as I was the candy man growing up as a kid, I loved candy. I would save all my money and I would buy a $5 bag of 5-cent candies that would last me 2 or 3 days, and I would just snack on them. And so I think there's so many different areas of this challenge that are going to be a lot easier for some and a lot more challenging for others. And so I think that for any person that decides to go through 75 hard, it's like when you figure out which one that is, whether it's drinking water or doing your outdoor workout, or following a diet or no alcohol, right? Like that's could be a big one for people as well, like not drinking a beer or having a glass of wine with dinner for 75 days. So whichever part of the challenge is going to be the hardest for you, that you think you can kind of squeak past and do this and only have one glass of wine, or only eat pizza on one day a week. It's like, no, like that's the whole purpose of this, is to like say and learn about what it is that is holding you back in your life. And that can be a bit extreme, but also that's why I did it, right? Is I want to strive, I want to do better. I know that I personally am a very healthy person. Our family, with mom being a chef and us eating healthy, has been a very big impact for us. And so the diet wasn't a huge thing, but I'm using that as an example for anyone that may be struggling with eating too much junk food or too much fast food, or even maybe not even eating enough, right? Maybe some people for this challenge is actually getting on a nutritious, healthy diet where you're eating 3 meals a day instead of, a couple of snacks and one dinner, right? And maybe putting on size, right? So each person will have their own sort of dynamic of what the impact of this challenge will do. And for me personally, there's the list goes on for the things that I learned, but those are kind of the biggest nuggets.
Wow. That's incredible. It's been such a honor for me to have witnessed your journey this entire time,
Yeah,
to have seen you grow from the beginning and to see who you are now is is an incredible change, for the better. Like you were already an incredible person before, but your habits now are just they've changed your life completely. And it makes me think of the compound effect. I don't know if you ever read that book, but the compound effect, which is the things you do every single day, the small decisions you make every single day. They seem like nothing, like the photo seems like nothing, but it
yeah,
adds up and adds up. And throughout your life, it is exponential differences. And the examples that this guy, I can't remember who the book is by, but I can link it later. The examples that he gives, he gives an example around money, um, which is a very simple way of understanding this because of how money can compound over time and make or break
totally.
your financial success in life. And then it's things like drinking, like having one beer a day. How much does, well, it's one beer a day, no problem. Adding that up throughout your life is exponential difference. So, uh, that I think has been, you are a beautiful example of what the compound effect can do for you because,
Totally.
and yeah,
Yeah, and
and
I
go ahead.
really would love to touch more on that because you said something really profound there, which is like one beer a day, right? Not a big deal, right? One beer a day. What's wrong with that? Right? We've all been there, had a beer a day, for a week, that's 7 beers. Times that by 365 days, damn, that's a lot of beer. But if it's just one beer when I get home from work, maybe two. If it's two instead of one, now you're doubling, right? So it's like, what are those things that are, again, like you said, compounding over time, right? And whether that's financially and you're investing in that compounds, whether you're drinking a beer every day and that compounds, whether you brush your teeth. Like we all know that it's just natural that when I want to go to bed, I brush my teeth. But if I just didn't brush my teeth before bed, by the time I'm 20, 30, 40 years old, I'm not gonna have any teeth